Yes, so we are setting up. We are getting our YouTube live for me and Nam. We are rocking and rolling today.
What's up, guys?
Hey, so we are setting up. We are, and I needed to pause that because nobody needs to hear that in unison at the exact same time.
Yeah, get used to this. Technology is it's a learning
absolutely
time.
Well, just again, you know, I am Julie Murphy, and I am financial therapist, healer, all around trying to help you birth your soul and to align exactly where it's at and stop working out and acting out our stuff through our money or through our health. And my partner in crime here is?
I am 𝐀𝐮𝐭𝐡𝐨𝐫, a spiritual bodybuilder, and I am a health coach. Really, I kind of do the same thing Julie does, but with physical well-being and nutrition, bringing all that stuff together. But they're all equally as important, and we are all going through a massive amount of transformation. I think being able to get a good grip on both sides is super important. So that's why we are here.
We are absolutely here.
Yes, we
are making it all work.
So, Julie, you and I were talking earlier about this balancing act that we have going on.
Balancing act, don't we?
We do, yeah. And I was telling Julie about how, you know, I'm. Do we work with kids? Julie, do you work with kids? Well,
I have kids. Yeah.
Well, yeah, she has. Yes.
If you want to borrow any at any time.
So we're talking about this idea of balance, right? And with all this change going on the spiritual level, the physical level, like, you know, financial level, jobs, you know, all over the place, everything is going on. And I've been finding it difficult to maintain my balance, even though things are going fairly well. I'm not like afraid per se, but there's so much change going on that it's difficult to stay grounded sometimes and like maintain that balance. So,
well, and you know, I always say that, do we really ever actually find balance? Which is why we put the title on here today is like, balance, or is that just bullshit? Because, you know, we strive for this thing that is outside of ourselves, that in the life that we're living, like, it's just another form of a suffering cycle when we try to put the expectation that we're actually able to get in balance. Because you know what? It's about being in the flow, right? And I always talk about money is like a current, because it comes, you know, the word currency comes from the word current, and how you flow is so important. Like, it could be rapids, it could be smooth stream, but it's about the current, and that's where you have to flow. And when you're living in the present moment and you're living in the here and now and not in the past or the future too far, then you actually are in the flow, and there really isn't balance there. It's more of flow. And I'm not talking about a woman's monthly cycle when you're talking.
No, we don't want to. That's getting messy because everybody has their own flow. No, I personally do not work with children, Mama Jody, but with counseling, coaching, no, I think that we're more of like on the adult realm. But so would you say it's safe to say that ultimate balance is equivalent or parallel to flow state? Maintaining that flow state would essentially be maintaining balance.
Well, when you're in the flow, things are easy and they're aligned and you're energized and you're giggling, and it's feeding your heart and your soul. And it's like when time just goes by super fast because you're really in your passion and your purpose. And that's actually when like optimal health shows up. And that's also when your financials also align and your relationships work out. Like, it's all about that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like we were talking about earlier, the seesaw effect, where, you know, life is going to bring us, it's sort of like a dancing game. It's like a dance, right? We have to choreograph. We have to learn to dance with our shadow. We have to dance with the higher vibration. We have to just dance around everywhere.
And you don't necessarily have to get jiggy with it and get down and dirty. It can actually be fun.
Yeah, if you got a bad white guy dancing like me, then, you know, that's okay.
No bumping and grinding. Like with that kind of dancing, we're done with, because those are suffering cycles, right?
True. Yes, and
Like
we don't want. The idea is to identify those suffering cycles within, so that we can face them and transform them.
You know, I was just talking about it earlier today, the fact that we all have these limiting belief systems, and these limiting belief systems actually cause us to hit ceilings in whatever it is that we're trying to work out in our lives. And we don't even realize when they're playing havoc with us half the time. But I can tell you that by us being quarantined and stuck in our houses, we're all being shown that a lot. You know, for an example, you know, yesterday was Easter, and something told me, I got this intuitive hit the day before Easter to actually send a text message to my children's father and say, hey, if you'd like to come over when the kids look at their Easter baskets, you know, you're welcome to come over. Now, mind you, we had a tumultuous, you know, divorce, and he hasn't been in the house in 2 years, but something told me to follow that guidance. And I watched myself yesterday. So he actually, my children were so happy and so excited.
Aww, that's awesome.
And it became expansive. But I also, for the first time, had my ex-husband in my house for 4 hours for the first time in 2 years yesterday. And then what I watched myself do is, you know, we're all working through our stuff. So we either work it out or we act it out.
Right.
And I'm super clear that the coronavirus is really about, are you going to choose fear or are you going to choose love? And so I keep telling my kids, like, we have to do things with more compassion and more love. And so in doing that, you know, I found myself yesterday, though, I ate still all the foods that I'm supposed to eat, you know, that is good with my microbiome. But what I watched myself do, I ate too much volume of that food yesterday.
Okay.
No, because that is where, like, there was a piece of me that wasn't fully into this new place of love and compassion and holding this space with my ex-husband. But I was willing to try, and actually it went really well. And
good for you. That's huge.
Right. Now it's, you know, when you're talking about like the flow, you know, now I need to be like, okay, don't go to the refrigerator and grab a couple extra pieces of turkey, you know?
but even still, you were able to observe that. And I think that's a big part of you know, growing and facing our stuff. Is that we are, City Sin, this is on YouTube. Julie, what's
we are live on YouTube. So if you want to see both of us, just go to Julie Murphy YouTube channel.
Julie Murphy YouTube channel.
Yep. If you want to see us both at the exact same time. Yep.
Yeah. There we go. And also,
so we've got Nam's, you know, Instagram. I'm live on Facebook, and we're trying to get everybody to go on YouTube if that's possible, because that is the easier access for most people.
Myself and Julie are both growing our YouTube channel, so, you know, go subscribe to my channel as well, Spiritual Bodybuilder. I greatly appreciate it. And also check out my opportunity community, spiritualbodybuilder.com. Check it out. Okay, but anyways, back to the balance. So you saw yourself doing this thing. It's so interesting, because I know a lot of people right now are like going through massive relationship shenanigans, right? Like, people are breaking up, or like stuff's coming out, or people are all of a sudden realizing, wait, I'm really not happy in this relationship. So I want to go, right? So, and then we act it out in our emotions, then we can't sleep, or then we just want to eat to make ourselves, like, emotional eating is huge. It's absolutely huge. So what can we do to sidestep that?
Right. Well, and then today what I made sure I did is I got up, you know, early, and I made sure that I did my yoga class this morning, and then plus I made sure I got 11,000 steps today. And you know, I just make sure that I got the exercise in, and today I made sure I ate right on track again. And it's like, we get off the horse, but you just got to jump back on, because it's this constant movement and in the flow. But yeah, it's that dance again, right?
Julie, you just messaged me. Wow, you're magic.
Who knew? Magic.
All right.
So I think
we're both showing. Oh, sweet. Okay, so you and I are both shown on your YouTube, apparently.
Yes, we are both on YouTube. Yeah,
that's awesome.
That is the way that we're supposed to be.
So much stuff. I love it. It's great. Yeah. So I found that when we're going through this shift or this raise in vibration and we're growing and learning, sometimes we can tend to be pulled in a certain direction. And, you know, we fully immerse ourselves. Like in the last week, I have fully immersed myself into this growth and potentiation of my business, right? Because like it's finally coming together and I finally feel aligned with it. And it's just naturally happening. But in a way, it's sort of taken my energy away from my physical, you know, my physical fitness. But I know that I'll bring it back to myself. And once I get this new energy sort of stabilized, it'll come back and I'll start to bring that back in one little piece at a time. And I think that's the key to going with these pieces. You sort of, you go out, you expand, you grab this piece, you bring it in, and then you create that new level of foundation, and then you solidify it. And it has to travel through all the different bodies, you know, like the etheric body, the astral body, the emotional body, the physical body. And once it finally goes, it's also, I don't know if you listen to Caroline Myss, but she talks about how we process information going through the crown chakra down to the root, and then the root back up to the crown.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I think the other thing that's really important for people to realize is that it may sound like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to a bunch of people, especially if you're first, you know, exposed to these things.
Maybe.
But because it's a mass awakening, right? People are starting to wake up, and it's like, well, what does that mean? And so we have to realize that through everything that we're saying here is that it all has to do with energy, and it all has to do with vibration. And so Einstein proved that everything is energy, and energy is neither created nor destroyed. It only changes form. Amen. So, yeah. And so when that occurs, we just have to realize that the physical level on the energetic level is the last place that it actually shows up, which can be frustrating. Like for me, for years, it's been, you know, my health and carrying extra weight. And the fact that that's the last place that it fixes itself at, you're like, oh, Jesus. Like it fixes it on the money front before it actually fixes it on the physical front. Right.
Absolutely.
You know, and it's really important to recognize these patterns, I think.
And I think we're conditioned to, you know, we're marketed to get that instant gratification, right? That like, I feel it now, so I want to take action on it now. But when you going through the process and not getting the result right away is part of learning to trust the process also. When we're elevating our frequency, right? Like it feels like chaos. It feels like, you know, like we're losing our mind. We don't even know who we are. We feel lost. We feel frustrated and lonely. But as we go through that process, you get to a point where you're like, you know what? There's nothing I can do about it anyway, so I'm just going to let go.
Justin, can we talk about actually like that trusting piece, right?
Oh, yeah.
So people are not feeling that there's a lot of things that they can trust these days.
So true. Well, I mean, look at everything that's going on. We're being lied to from every angle.
Okay, but let's not focus on the lies, right? Let's focus on how do we build trust, and how do we, you know, so it's not even necessarily about building trust. It's about it's trusting your intuition. Like if you're going to your head to evaluate things, if you're going to your mind and your ego going, well, what about this? And what about that? And what about this? That means you pulled your energy up here and you're going, and you're trying to process it through in our ego minds. And so I think it's super important for people to realize that we have to bring it back into our hearts. And that goes back to our guts.
Yes.
You know, like, what does our gut tell us? And that's what you have to trust. Amen. Like that's what you need to trust the most right now.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
If you've been given this gift of being quarantined, to start to build that muscle of your own intuition and your own gut and trust. Like if you're drawn to something, you need to keep moving towards that something, even if it doesn't make logical sense. Like there was zero logic this weekend in terms of inviting my ex-husband back into my house, you know, after everything that's happened. But my gut told me it was going to be a gateway to healing, and I followed it, and it happened. And it was beautiful. And my kids were giddy. My son has probably thanked me 15 times for opening up that gateway. And that's worth everything. Everything. You don't necessarily know how you're going to get there, But just
No,
know
you don't.
that you're walking through the gateway. And just like when you were telling me the first time I met you this January, right? I met you, you're like, well, you got to give up gluten and dairy. I'm like, blah, 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 blah. Because that's what everybody says, right?
Exactly.
But you said, just trust me. I'm going to throw you through a couple loops. And you're like, just trust me. And something told me that I could trust that, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful because I'm like 30 pounds lighter now. And I feel fantastic.
Yeah.
Holla.
Hell yeah. But
On my cheekbones again.
That trust factor right there that I think a lot, I mean, even like I've caught myself getting, you know, a little bit in my head about stuff, you know, no matter which way you go, it's like these cords are trying to pull you in all these different directions. So it's really important. And even I'm saying to myself too, like, come back to heart center, come back to, you know, your heart space. And if you have to every now and then we have to disconnect, even if we're doing all this stuff, right? So Sin said, this is true, trust your gut, but some people aren't in tune or connected like that, or even they might feel they are doing judgment off of their gut. And that's the process of awakening. It's the process of becoming aware. Yes. You have to become aware in order to trust, right? And as you become more balanced, that's when your gut microbiome will shift. And as your gut shifts, your mind shifts, because your gut speaks to your mind through the bacteria.
Well, and I always tell people it's like building a muscle. You know, even if you're not used to trusting your gut, it's like building a muscle. And it's like I tell my kids all the time, like, are you giving yourself a safe space to learn?
Right.
And you learn something. You were not going to hit it all out of the gates at the right time, like or in perfect conditioning. It's not. Right. But you know what? Build the muscle, because we have been, you know, there are some belief systems that are out there like that, like the fluoride in at the dentist and the toothpaste and all that other stuff is blocking our pineal glands, you know, and there's multiple things. And those of you who don't know what pineal, I just have this thirst for knowledge. So I'll have to apologize that I'm like a walking encyclopedia of a bunch of stuff.
Bring it on.
Right. But the pineal gland is calcified. And so that you're not tuning into your higher self. And, you know, Eastern philosophy, again, you go to 𝐾𝐮𝐼𝐾𝐽, you know, it's your crown chakra. And it's like, when that's blocked, you can't get the information. And so it's about this unblocking so that, you know, we can start to get to more of this, you know, harmonic life that we're all starving to live. Like, we don't want to live in this suffering cycle anymore. We just don't know how to get out of it. No. And I would tell you from a financial perspective, Nam, financially, debt is the way you're going to keep yourself suffering. So be super cautious about all these debt plans that are coming out to fix our financial stuff from the government. Beware. That is not going to put you in the life that you desire.
Yeah, and especially if you're bringing your focus over, I'm going to get this $1,200. You're not putting your focus into your own creative energy. You're shifting it away to like, give me something. That's like the whole, you know, like that's playing on
welfare
victim mentality. You owe me. You're supposed to be ruling me. You owe me. So give it to me. No, we need to tune into our own heart, to our own creative energy. This is the opportunity right now to be able to activate and act on these passions that we have, because we have time for it. Right. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so go forward into that. And we need to disconnect every now and then. There's, like, yes, someone said everyone's soul is connected, and yes, we are all connected at the unconscious level, and that veil is getting much thinner right now. But at the same token, a lot of people aren't connected to themselves. So if they're not connected to themselves, they don't feel that connection to other people, and that's where we need to get away from Wi-Fi and, you know, get into nature and to, you know, sit and do breath work and even yoga, or, you know, right now whatever it is that we can do. And unfortunately, it boggles my mind. Boggles my mind that they close all the healthy stuff and keep the unhealthy stuff open. I mean, it's so counterintuitive that it drives me nuts, but I don't even want to feed that energy. I don't want to go there. It is what it is.
Well, but think about that. That's being called to, what's the number one thing we're all supposed to be learning right now? Self-love and self-care. Right. And by having those resources out there that are not good food for us, I can tell you, I think that's part of my success in terms of losing the weight that I've lost, is because of the fact that I'm literally eating every meal at home. And I'm cooking it myself. Like, I told my kids the other day, I go, you know what? We're teaching school, but we're going to have home ec class, and I'm going to teach you how to cook.
Beautiful. That's a great idea.
Why do you need to do that? And I go, because you want to eat.
Yeah, right.
And they're like, yeah, I want to eat. I go, well, then you're going to have to learn how to cook.
There you go.
And they're like, because you can't just say, oh, Mom, let's just go to 𝑘𝐼𝐻𝑧 at the corner restaurant. Like 𝑘𝐼𝐻𝑧. Yeah, that's our favorite little place up on the corner.
Mom, I'm going to 𝑘𝐼𝐻𝑧.
Mom, we're going to 𝑘𝐼𝐻𝑧. We're going to
about it.
So I think it's just super important for us to start to realize that this whole quarantine thing is such a beautiful gift.
It really is. I agree.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's really a matter of our perspective. And we really, if we take this time to be creative and innovative and self-care and self-love, how can anything be wrong then?
I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree. We have been given, and that astrologically speaking is the Pluto Jupiter conjunction in Capricorn.
Tell us more about that.
Okay, so that, you know, Pluto is about that deep unconscious, that deep unknown, the stuff that we don't want to feel or look at. It's the deepest part of our shadow. Yeah. Right? And being in Capricorn, it's about the structure of our world, of our reality. It's about our, you know, the third dimensional reality that we've created for ourselves. Jupiter puts a microscope flashlight on whatever it's around, like the science and the planets around. So it puts a big shiny light on all this deep unconscious dark stuff that we don't want to look at, and saying, hey, you have an opportunity right now, because here is where your greatest potential lies. Here is where all your abundance is if you have the courage to look at it. And the way we look at it is going into our heart. Right?
We have to look at it.
But and this is the conjunction that has created this great awakening, because all this deep dark stuff is coming out, and many people just they've all of a sudden they're experiencing this for the first time. Like, I feel lost. I don't know who I am. What's going on? Life has no meaning anymore. Right?
And we have to recognize that's beautiful. Yeah,
Mikey. Hell yeah. I'm sorry. That was awesome. I'm gonna make some little buttons. Spiritual president right here. Oh yeah.
I love it. Well, and I think it's super important for us to just start to recognize the fact that we do have to go inside.
Yeah.
We have those answers, you know, because I'm watching people financially act things out right now. And I always talk about, like, you have to clean up your financial past, which are your debts, while you live in the present moment and plan for the future all at the same time.
That's a lot.
It is, but in the same token, that is the most self-loving and self-caring thing that you can do, because if you keep creating financial past and you keep creating more debts, how can you possibly live in the present moment, let alone create the future that you want? Like, you just can't. I was up on Capitol Hill a couple of years ago, and I was in front of a bunch of congressmen and women, and they said to me, how do we get Americans to save more for retirement? And I was like, and all these people in my industry gave all these answers.
Right.
And then I was the last one to speak, and they said, well, Julie, what do you think? I go, you're asking the wrong question.
Right.
And they're like, you must be from the Midwest. You're a pretty straight talker. And I was like, yeah, Chicago. And then they said, well, what is it? I go, how in the heck can people plan for retirement when they can't even live today because of all the debt they have that they're paying for all their yesterdays?
Right.
So there's no way they're going to get to planning for retirement for tomorrow if they can't live today because they're paying so much for yesterday.
Right. Energetically bankrupt, basically.
Yeah. And so and you know what? We can all blame it on employers and marriages and whatever. This is about coming to your finances and to your health.
Right.
In a place of empowerment.
Yes, absolutely.
And we just need to flip the switch. We just have to decide to flip the switch that you want to do that.
That's all it really is. And it's so interesting since I've been working with you. By the way, guys, Julie is my wealth coach, and she has taught me so much. I'm her health coach, and I've helped her lose a lot of weight, and we've taught each other a lot, and that's why we're doing this together. Right. So I've noticed that for me, it's literally just been when that first thought enters my mind.
Yep.
At first I had to just like not shut it off, but just breathe through it almost and realize that, okay, this is not who I am, and just quiet it down. And then just have faith and trust one step of the way, work, follow my intuition with what I felt my passion is to do. When you walk forward in your heart and your passion, you can't go wrong. And then over time, little by little, one step at a time, I gain a little bit more confidence and a little more confidence. And I'm still going there, but I've noticed it's the same thing for fitness too.
Can we tell the story about how when you were first trying to open up those little online savings accounts?
Misery.
Okay, but if I may, this happens to everybody that I help on the financial front. So what happens is that, well, would you like to tell them about it, or would you?
Yeah, so we were going back and forth, you know, giving each other like instructions for what to do next. Yeah. And my very first step was to open up a couple savings accounts, right? But in order to do that, like I was doing it online, and they wanted this information that I couldn't find or I didn't have. And it was like, I had to go drive to the store, fax it, and write all this paperwork down. And it was just, to me, it was such an annoyance. I was just like, oh, this is stupid. I don't want to do this. This is ridiculous. Kind of the same attitude that you had about gluten and dairy at first. Like,
oh yeah, I'm like, oh, I could just have this little bit of gluten.
Right? But then once, like, and it literally took me like a week and a half to get this done. It was, because like I did it, then it didn't go through right. Then I needed another piece of paperwork, and it just, like, I had to go back like 4 times. It was such a pain in the ass, but because I made it a pain in the ass.
But understand that happened because it's vibrational, right?
Right.
When you're not resonating with creating the financial future that you want, like, you have the desire, so your mind is kind of going there, and your heart wants it, but your reality is like not there. You get what I call all this static, right?
Yeah,
you get these bumps in the road that can become roadblocks if you choose for them to be roadblocks.
Right.
Or they'll just completely, like, you could just jump over them like a hurdle in, you know, a track meet. And what happens is, you know, I always have these online savings accounts, clients set them up because the fact that you can actually name your financial intention for what it is. Right. You know, like I always have people open up an emergency reserve account. And every time somebody calls it something other than emergency reserve, like they call it like Muffy after their cat, they always spend the money.
Really?
Always.
Wow.
But if you name it emergency reserves or I lost my paycheck fund, well, then when you do that, you don't touch it.
That's the tone, right?
Right. So it's about naming it. Like, name what you want. You know, like no different than I name that I want a lean, fit, flexible, hard body at almost 50 years old, and I don't care. Like, that's what I desired. I wrote it down and I read the list every day because that's my desired outcome.
Bam. And I love it.
Even though I've cranked out 4 babies.
Right? Yeah, and you're doing it too.
Totally.
Your transformation has been fascinating, but it's so funny how those first few steps are the hardest to do.
Oh, they're
so, like, we just fight with ourselves and we get in our own way, and it's like, hey, you're addicted to suffering, stop it. And then the heart's like, no, don't. And my head's like, fuck this. And then you're like, no, let's go. But then if it gets to a point where you shake hands, okay, it's all good. Wow, what was I arguing with myself about? Nothing. Right?
Totally. Absolutely. So, we act it out in the funkiest ways.
Hey, we really do. And that's why having an accountability buddy, like you're
that's exactly what we are.
It's necessary, and it's super helpful. You need someone to call you out on your shenanigans.
Right. And that's why you and I have created this, you know, so I'm starting the Awakening series. You know, it's based off of my book, Awaken Your Wealth. And you've got the opportunity community because we want to provide these spaces and courses and stuff like that are safe places for everybody to thrive and adapt in times like this that are not super easy for everybody. But they can become easy when you're around like minds and like energy. All of a sudden it becomes super easy to get in that flow and to move and to go. And we need this support more than ever. And if there is anyone in your life, I talk about this in my first book, The Emotion Behind Money. So certainly if you have emotion behind money going on right now, like, get that book because it's a nice roadmap to help you through it. But
yeah, it's an excellent book. I highly recommend it.
Thank you. I talk in that book about that you've got to get rid of those people in your life that are the crabs in the bucket. So like for me, like I had to stop eating with people that eat like shit. Pardon my French. I go because of the fact that I really wanted to lose this weight and I wanted to make sure that I was, you know, eating the way I needed to eat to hit the goal that I wanted to hit. And it's no different than your finances. If you're talking to somebody all the time, it's like, oh, it's okay, just swipe it on your credit card, you're good, or wait for the government's payout or get a loan. Like, no, you want to pick your friends that are successful business owners if you're trying to build a business.
Right.
People who are, you know, ones that you want to emulate, not the ones that you want to, you know, you don't want to, I call them the crabs in the bucket. If you put 10 crabs in a bucket, one of them tries to climb out, the other one's pulling back down because misery loves company.
Oh, that's so true.
Oh, but if you put one crab in the bucket, it can crawl out by itself, no problem.
Yep, we need to be that crab, or well, you know what I mean.
Yeah, the one crab that climbs out, right?
So get in the fucking bucket.
Yeah,
That's what I say.
which is why, you know, on my website juliemurphy.com, I created this resource group, and you're one of them, and because we don't know exactly what we need from a health perspective, and you know, so we've got these communities. You're an opportunity community. Mine is my rockin' resources, because we want to connect people to the things that are going to get them to where it is that they really want to be.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to understand too that everyone has their own timeline. Like,
yeah, it's so true.
Working through behaviors and habits and things. It's not like you can just take a pill and it's going to work the same for everybody. Like, it's your own process that you have to work. Sometimes that first step, like me, took me 2 weeks just to get that first step. But then once I got it, it was like, okay. And sometimes it's a 6th step that you go and you get stuck, and everyone has their own place where they get a blockage from. But the important thing to remember is that you can always get through that blockage. There's always a next step. There's always something more to learn. And when you start to look at it, whatever it is you're trying to accomplish through that childlike curiosity, man, it just makes, that's that perspective shift. It makes everything look so much more interesting and exciting and fun, right?
Well, and
let's leave the country and start a village. Yeah, I mean, I'd be down for that.
Totally. Well, and one of the things that you've taught me is that it's okay to be in your plateau.
Yes, it is.
Right?
It's important to be okay with that, because a lot of people won't be okay with that, and that's where they turn around and go right back to the bad habit.
What was it a month ago that I called you up and I go, I'm on a plateau. What do I got to count my calories? And you're like, no, I'm not real big on you counting calories. I'm like, okay, but I need to do some tactical step to get me to that next place. And I didn't really need to do anything. You're like, just, what did you tell me? Tell everybody what you told me.
I said, just let it be okay.
And then you said, what's really bothering you? And I was like, nothing. I just need to know what I need to do to lose weight. And you're like,
right.
No, like, and then you said to me, didn't you just have like a colonic the other day? Oh, okay, got it. And then all of a sudden you broke me open on an emotional level.
Yeah.
Because all those unprocessed emotions are stuck in the lining of your intestinal tract, and you
all that bacteria.
them all up, and they were coming out. And and your advice to me was just like, just feel everything that's coming up. And I was like, that's my to-do.
Just gotta let it go through you. It's that die-off reaction, which happens emotionally, physiologically, energetically, all over the place.
And so I had this plateau, and then within a week of feeling those emotions, I was going down for 2.5 weeks straight, a 0.5 pound to 1 pound per day.
Yeah.
And still eating, still following exactly what I was the whole month prior to that. But I finally released whatever the heck it was that was stuck, and it became up and out.
And it's funny, in hindsight, you don't really need to know what it is, because the aha moments, the feeling changes. You feel right about it. I think that's important, because we need to be looking for that feeling and not for the doing. Right? We're human beings, and when we're doing things, we might miss that feeling because we're going too fast. It's like we raise above it, and we're just like hydroplaning. We're not touching the ground. We're not feeling into our bodies, and that's where the answers are, in the feelings of it.
Totally. And that goes for our money as well. You know,
Yeah,
like
I've
when
noticed that too.
you know, I can't tell you how many people have said to me recently that they're not even opening up their envelopes, you know, that are coming in the mail with their statements, or opening up the emails that, you know,
Wow.
show what's going on in the stock market with their assets. You know what? It is so important that you open up those bank statements and those investment accounts and your 401k statements. You need to look at that stuff so you can internalize the reality of what's actually going on and process through that, so that you can get yourself into a healthier space. And that's so important, to get yourself to that healthier space of just accepting reality. You know, that's the second step I walk people through in my pact process, is that you've just got to accept reality.
Yeah, that was a big struggle for me for a very long time. I could not allow myself to accept in facets of my life where I was. And once I did start learning to accept it, it's like all that stress all that control that I was trying to hold on to just started falling off.
Well, it's because we carry around so much shame, blame, guilt, and judgment around it all, right?
Right, absolutely.
Whether it's our health or our money.
Yeah, exactly.
You know? Like, why couldn't I figure out, you know, I'm successful in every other area of my life, but why couldn't I take off this extra 60 pounds I was carrying around with me?
Right.
You know?
Yeah, and I think right now, more so than any other time ever in our lives, is that this energy and this information, it's coming up whether we like it or not. Like, everybody's going to feel it in some way, shape, or form, because so many people are experiencing it. And it's almost like it's shedding. The energy is shedding out to the rest of the collective unconscious. So that's where I've been feeling energy so deeply lately that literally, like, I can feel almost like these entities trying to latch onto me, cords all over the place. But I'm able to stay centered at least enough to realize this is going on for the most part. And of course, look, we always slip. We're gonna, especially when we have, you know, a big goal, a really important goal. Like, what is your why? And when you have a really strong why and you're going after a big goal for yourself,
right,
you're gonna stumble and fall, because that, you know, like, you're testing your threshold, you're expanding your threshold. Just like exercise, you're gonna fail over and over and over again, and you're gonna toughen up, strengthen up, and you're gonna grow and build. Same thing with our financial consciousness, with our relationship consciousness, with, you know, and with our physical consciousness.
Absolutely. And it's so important for us to just love ourselves along the way. Super important, you know?
Exactly.
And so that's why we're here talking about how we're working things out or acting it out through our health or through our money. And because, you know, and a lot of times people, you know, you and I are more empathic and we feel the energies around us. And a lot of times I like to explain that to people as, like, if you're going to like a holiday party or a work event or something of that nature, and you're going out and you're going to go meet a bunch of people, and then all of a sudden you walk into it and then you're like, you feel like the energy, like, that person feels a little intense. I'm going to walk away. That is where you can see, like, whether people's limiting belief systems are like trying to project things onto you and hook in and suck you. They're like energy vampires. And today there are a lot of people who are sitting in their fear places with the virus that are really becoming energy vampires, to where they don't know how to sit in their stuff that's all coming up, all that fear and control, or you're perfectionist because you can't, you know, handle what's going on. Like, I'm telling you, this virus is going to untangle all your stuff.
Yep.
And just know, like, be around those or talk to those that are life-giving, not life-taking. And you can feel that energy ebbing and flowing. And if you're not really sure, like, take an Epsom salt bath and it'll clear it all. You know, like, you really can detach. If you're not really sure, detach that way, or start meditating, or go for walks, or whatever helps you clear it.
Whatever outlet you have right now to be able to do. Like, I'm all about the hot springs. I love going out the hot springs, just soaking in there, and there's no Wi-Fi, no cell service, no nothing, no people, just you and the universe. And just, now, if you're living in a city somewhere or something, then not much you can do. But
yeah, because in the city, so I live right on the lakefront in Chicago.
Oh, dude.
So, but the thing is now that the beaches and everything have been closed, like, so what you said is, I think, super important. It's about getting in the biorhythm of the earth.
Right.
And
Yeah,
it's about
exactly.
being in nature. And I got to tell you, I love walking amongst the trees along the lakefront here. And because there's some kind of connection and communing with nature and being in the biorhythm of the earth. And I learned a lot of that from Deepak Chopra back in the day, you know, because that's what Ayurvedic stuff is all based on.
Right. Yeah.
And it's about being in rhythm with the earth, and that's being in the flow. And so that's why it balances us so much.
I so agree with you. I use a PEMF mat for a couple years, and this vibroacoustic table to help get up. You froze there for a second. You back?
Yep, we're back. Sorry. I don't know what happened there.
It's okay.
Must be a lot of people trying to Zoom right now.
Yeah, right. Probably. Oh, it's the water. Yes. Empaths are definitely drawn to water. I love.
So Elijah on YouTube wants to know, what's the zodiac signs of both of us and how does it affect you and what your take is? You know, I'm a fire one. I'm Sagittarius.
Yes.
Fiery and stubborn.
and I'm a Capricorn, but I don't think that the sign necessarily has to do with how we're reacting and responding, because that's too general. I think that it depends on what part of your signs that you're in. For example, like, you know, Sagittarius, right? You guys tend to be like very like happy and hairy-fairy, but you can also be a little like careless or reckless or like a little too sarcastic. People can't like take you seriously. Me, Capricorn, I'm the opposite. I'm too serious and I'm too structured. I'm no, stubborn. This is how it has to go. You know, I got to take the pole out of my ass sometimes and like be, you know, just like chill out a little bit. So if you're in the shadow side or the positive side of the different archetypes of the different celestial bodies, that's what matters. Like back in the day, you know, I was really stuck in my ego for a long time until I was humbled many times throughout life. Now, like, you know, I've learned to purge that toxic masculinity and balance myself out. And
it's true.
I think that there's many layers of that balancing out and purging process going on right now. So whatever your sign is, I mean, and there's really three side, your sun, moon, and ascendant are really what contribute to your overall personality.
So it's not necessarily your sign is what you're
saying.
Yeah,
that's because like my ascendant is Aries. So, and sometimes I
mine's a Virgo.
Like an Aries. Yeah, so your Virgo is very structured and very like detail oriented.
Just ask anyone that knows me.
Exactly. Yeah, to me, I'm like super fiery, and like Aries is like, all right, let's go run into a brick wall. I don't care. I'm gonna figure it out. You know.
I like to have my ducks all in a row. Well, that's why I'm a planner, right? I'm a financial planner.
Right, and that's why you and I work so well together.
Yeah. That's
so have that little earth and that little fire that just sort of like.
Well, and I'm so glad Elijah asked us that. You know why? Because it's illustrating in the fact that we are letting our freak flags fly. And we are in our essence being exactly who we are from not only a sign but our rising sign, right? And we have been given the gift to. You and I both have had instances where we've kind of cracked over the head by a 2x4, where it shifted our lives before you know, there's mass amounts of people that's happening to right now with the virus. But mine came when I almost died on the operating table giving birth to my last child. Ooh. And that 2x4, I saw the light, the whole thing, and that just smacked me like a ton of bricks. That I believe my soul path was this way, and I was veering off from it. That was my crisis that put me right back and going. And I never would have thought 5 years later that I'd be sitting there going, I'm divorced, starting a whole new life. Like, and it's all rebuilt. It's been rebuilding itself. And I'm happier than ever, which is like, it's kind of hard to believe, even though it's all falling apart, it's really actually all falling together.
Yeah. It's rising in place. I don't like the falling.
Oh, I love that. It's rising into place.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. That sounds very expansionary. I like that.
10 years ago, I was in the military, you know, diffusing bombs for a living. I was in the military diffusing bombs for a living, and that cracked me wide open. And I realized that, you know, I was going to be a lifer. I wanted to be the whole G.I. Joe thing and everything. And now 10 years later, I'm talking about energy and astrology and health and wealth. you know, on Zoom meetings. It's completely contradicted to everything that I used to do and every way that I used to live. You know, life has a way of bringing you in different directions.
It really does. And the key there is to allow and to receive and be open to what it is that is going to open up. You know, it's really hard. I've gone through a couple phases of this now in terms of aligning more with my soul. And there's a grieving process sometimes when you're like, but that was so good. And now it's like moving away. I really want it really good again. It's like, but you have to allow that once you're in that next phase, you have to allow whatever or whoever to fall away so you can rise to the next place. So you're not then stuck in your patterning again.
Yeah, that's hard.
Oh, it's brutal.
Letting go of those attachments. Oof, sometimes.
Right.
Man. Yes. So we got 𝐼𝙬𝙬𝙧 is a Virgo sun and a Sag rising. So you guys are like, you know, like soul sisters. Hell yeah. Love it.
Soul sister soul.
Hell yeah. Yeah.
Well, and again, for those of you who have just joined us and everything, I'm Julie Murphy, and I'm the author of Awaken Your Wealth and the Emotion Behind Money. And Nam? And
I am 𝐀𝐮𝐵 Spiritual Bodybuilder, and I have the Opportunity Community. And please subscribe to my Instagram and my YouTube channel. And go to my website, spiritualbodybuilder.com, and sign up for my Opportunity Community.
Yeah.
And, I've got a few slots left, I think. I'll have to check again, but for the 4-week transformational protocol that I'm doing in that community. So jump on it. Super, super, super awesome.
Well, and if you really want to make an impact in your life, either one of us can help you get to the next place. It depends on where is the focus, right? So I always talk about there's your personal life, which the health falls into there. There's the financial, your career, personally, you know, and so something may be the first thing that you're drawn to work out first.
Right.
And follow your intuition there. Follow that, you know, if it's really the money stuff that's jamming you up or really the health stuff that's jamming you up, well, then you go to that place first, and that's where you start unpacking stuff. And you start to get the support that you need and be part of a community that's going to help you expand into more of your greatness.
Amen.
Super important.
I love it. So, so very important. So wherever you're at right now, you know, take a step into that direction and, you know, it's so important when you're working on becoming the next version of yourself, raising your vibration. You cannot teach yourself to get there because you are not that person. You cannot teach yourself to go to a place that you have never been to yet. So go to the people that you see have been successful or are doing successful things at the place that you want to go and work with them. Right now is such a perfect time to go in and shift the focus onto a structure that's going forward to change your life. I cannot stress it enough because right now this is our opportunity here.
Right.
The universe has handed us an opportunity. We have not a whole lot else going on.
That's so true.
Shift your focus onto something productive on the higher vibration, and you know, like hold yourself accountable. Find an accountability buddy. You know, work with people that you know and trust to help you grow.
Well, and I think it's also important to understand the fact that if you're contemplating things and if you're structured, that means you're in your mind and your ego and you're not in your heart. Like if you're fighting against something, one of the biggest parts, you know, we all have divine feminine energy and we all have divine masculine energy. Right. And the masculine is the push, it's the competitive, it's the doing, whereas the feminine is the allowing, the receiving, the being. And to function effectively, we all need both in our lives, but we're really being called, the divine feminine is our hearts and the divine masculine is more of our minds and our egos. And we need both, you know, but we really need to lead with the allowing and the receiving and being, because that is what is going to make you giggle more. And it's also what's not going to create disease in your body.
Right. And just astrologically speaking, we're getting ready to come into a Venus retrograde. So Venus represents the divine feminine, right? Venus only goes retrograde every 2 years. Same as Mars, which is the divine masculine.
Yeah. Right? Men are from Mars, women are from Venus.
So it's going retrograde Gemini. So this is all about like going within to see what blockages you have with money, what blockages you have with relationships. How are you getting your own way? All of our own personality, our stubbornness and our personality traits that are getting in our own way. It's going to be cerebral. It's going to be in our mind. It's going to be brought up to the surface to look at and to face. So this next few months, that divine feminine, we all have to, humble up and get ready to really look at our stuff, because with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn all be getting ready to go retrograde, we're about to go over the same energies that have started for the last 3 months. So from January till like about next week, I believe Pluto goes retrograde. All right. This next 6 months time frame is going to be when Venus and Mars go retrograde. So we're looking at all these things going on in our energy and our mind and our reality, and it's going to be real. Like we're not going to have a choice. We're going to be forced to sit there and just look at it and face it. Now, we don't know exactly like what's going to happen in the outside world, but it's all about going within and feeling stuff.
And I'm telling you, if you are not willing to look at it yet, it is going to get harder until you do.
Yes, it will.
Because this cycle, whether it's the virus, the pandemic stuff, this cycle is not going to be short. This is not, let's have a calamity, and then 6 months later, we're going to be back to living the way we were, because the way we were living is gone.
Yeah, we're in psycho-spiritual warfare right now. Yeah,
and it's time to really just allow yourself to look at your gunk, and we all have it. We all have it. And the question is what's yours? And
right.
Just love yourself enough to say, you know what? That's what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Chuck it in the fucking bucket and let that freak flag fly, baby. Yeah.
Did you really just go there?
I did.
Well, Nam, I just want to say thank you. This has been so great. We've been doing this every Monday at 8 p.m. Central and 9 p.m. Pacific. And
6 p.m. Pacific.
Oh my God, I went the wrong way. I did go the wrong way. See, we're all human and we all make mistakes. It's okay, because I'm no longer willing to judge myself for that one.
Every Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, we'll be on here talking about health and wealth and energy and all this cool shit. Join in, ask questions. Let's all grow this community and grow this family and help each other out. We all want to grow and learn and spread this light and love. So let's get it, baby.
It's time for us to excel and experience life how we were meant to. All right. So again, 𝑗ulieMurphy.com and spiritualbodybuilder.com. We are here to help, and we look forward to seeing you guys next Monday.
Yeah, love you guys.
All right. Love you. Bye.